my Oklahoma Mustang makeover horse, and this is going to be my first session with her. If you hear noises in the background, it's because there are like 3 or 4 horses walking around outside of the round pen, because the round pen is just inside of the big pasture. I'm currently waiting for Camille to get back so I can get some better video footage that's not on a tripod, but I do just want to get in here with her and get started and maybe see if I can get her to reach out and sniff me a couple times, or even just look my direction and get a little bit interested.
Alright guys, I'm going to be pretty much voicing over the rest of this video. So for those of you who have watched my Mustang videos before, you're probably familiar with what I'm trying to do right now. I'm applying a little bit of pressure and walking towards her, getting her to get interested in me, and then as soon as she gives me her eyes or steps towards me, I either back up or turn away. Right now, I'm just mirroring her legs and her motion and how she's moving. So if she starts to turn, then I'll turn back to face up with her. Good, so right there, I liked that she faced up to me and was still for a second, so I gave that big release. And you'll see me frequently walk very far away in the round pen and then come back. So we have a little bit of head bobbing there. Usually that's like either she's a little bit intimidated or she's trying to figure out what I'm doing. I didn't exactly like her body language there, so I decided to push her. And it's always a toss-up of, you know, what works best for the Mustang. Is it better to hang out with them and do some pressure and release, or is it better to push them around and get them thinking and moving their feet more? So I usually play around with that with all of mine at the start to see just what works best for them. So you can't really see all too much what she's doing because she's out of frame, so I decided to wait until she settled a little bit more and then got it in a better shot. So now you can see that she's understanding to stand still and reach out to sniff my hand. I'm super grateful that I have this mare right here. You can tell she's nervous, you can see her body shaking, but she's curious enough to look out and sniff me, unlike some of you may remember Roulette, who would just turn her head to the side and fully avoid. This mare is quite nervous, but she's like, okay, I know I need to reach out and sniff her, and then I get that release, and you know, she doesn't hurt me when she reaches out. So hopefully she's not too bad of a human. I really like that she's wanting to keep her feet still, but I will be a little bit cautious of that later on because it may be more of a freeze response. For those of you who have heard me talk about fight, flight, or freeze before, freeze is pretty much where they just shut down and they're not taking anything in, they're just avoiding, but they're frozen in place, which isn't a good response either. So when she moved off to the side a little bit there, I just again mirrored her legs, stuck with her, waited until she gave and faced up to me, and then I backed off. So I didn't give the release then, so I'm gonna wait until she stops moving, reaches out one more time, and then I'll give my release. There you go. I really like that she walked back forward right there. She turned back to me instead of kind of freaking out and walking away. So there we have a little bit of nose pets.
I'm going to wait right there for Camille to get back because I'm starting to get a couple of those first touches, and I want to make sure that I have a good camera angle for that. So right now I just might work on just again that approach and release and letting her sniff my hand, and wait for Camille to get back so I can get some better footage for you guys.
So Camille came back, so now I can have a rotating camera angle, which is pretty cool. This time when I walked into the pen with her, I decided to start pushing her around almost immediately. Really important that she stays going the direction that I want her to go. It's a little bit difficult because there's horses on the outside of the round pen, so she's getting drawn to those and trying to divert her attention to that instead of focusing on me. Good, I really liked her face up there. So, at least for me, my purpose in doing this is for focus. It's not for tiring my horse out, but it's for teaching them how to respond to my body language. Also, for me to respond to her body language, listening to where her threshold points are and all. And then also getting us tuned in and focused together. So I pushed around just a little bit. She decided to face up. And then we're getting some good sniffs again, pretty much right where we left off, so it's good. It seems like she's retaining stuff. Sweet, and we're able to get some higher up pets on her head. Again, I do really big releases at the start, even though she doesn't look like she needs it. Like I said, she's a horse that freezes more than anything. So I'd rather give that really big release. That way at whatever point she feels the pressure is off of her, she can then find that reward. So now I'm working on going to the cheek pieces of her face, because eventually I want to be able to get my hand under that halter to clip a lead rope on. That makes her a little bit nervous. So there I rewarded her, because although she did move away, she faced up and stopped moving at one point. So I try to reward for those really small points still. Good, so that was much better. She didn't move that last time. I didn't hang around for too long. I just tried to pet that cheek and then move out of the way. Good, so right now I'm petting her neck area. She's a little bit nervous by that motion and my arm coming at her. So I'm just gonna go real slow, hold. When she decides to fully leave me and make that decision where there's no point of return, then I'm going to send her around and kind of make her try to refocus on me. One thing that's really cool about this horse is you can see I have barely done any work pushing her around. We haven't really done true round penning, and she already understands to face up. And I'm not sure if that's more of a sizing up, wanting to be a little bit aggressive in a defensive way type deal, or if she's just curious enough and she knows that that's already the answer. But I'm gonna take it as the second option, because I think this is a pretty smart mare. And this is when the horses started galloping around for about 3-4 minutes, so I'm gonna cut the camera because I pretty much just let my mare hang out. I pushed her around a little bit, but her focus was gone. Okay, so starting back up, pretty much we're able to get into those head pats, and the horses still have her hyped up a little bit. So this time, instead of pushing her around when she goes to leave, I tried to invite her back in immediately. She didn't want to join up, so then I pushed her. So at the start, it's just me messing around with a couple different techniques, seeing what works best for the both of us. But usually when I ask them to face up, I'll give them a chance, and then if they don't get it right away, I'll push them a little bit more. So the first time when I immediately tried to invite her back in, that didn't work too well, so that second time I just went right to pushing her. And this will be good. This will be a good start for us learning round penning as well. So when I stop my feet, I expect her to slow her feet down, and she didn't really slow them down, so I'm going to push her a little more. So again, this is all about focus. Good. Much better response. This mare is also really big on licking and chewing, which is a great release, and it really helps me see that indicator when she starts to understand or she has some sort of pressure release. Really good response there. The first 2 times when I went to pet that head, we had that little scoot, and that time she thought about it, but then she stopped. You can still see her nostrils flaring quite a bit. Instead of pushing her there, I cut her off to see if I could get her to focus and just stay still. And now I decide that because I'm able to touch pretty much everywhere on her head, I haven't really tried to mess around with her muzzle too much, but given that she is reaching out and sniffing me and being alright with that, I'm not too worried about her muzzle. So now we're going to work on the lead rope. And this part isn't all too interesting, so I might cut some of it out. Pretty much what I'm doing is I'm opening and closing the clasp, getting her used to that noise, that way it doesn't spook her if it makes one little noise when I clip it underneath her. So I will skip past some of this stuff. I think I rubbed the rope on her face a little bit, and yeah, just get used to that noise. And then I go to clip it on. Alright, so as soon as I get that lead rope on, I let it drop. I make sure I have a short lead rope because I don't want her getting tangled up in it. But my first thing I do is let her figure it out on her own.
She'll do it herself.
She's not the biggest fan of the rope. I'm going to let this part kind of just play so you guys can see what she does and what I do initially. I don't think I cropped it at all. We'll see. So her initial reaction really wasn't all that bad, and she's pretty smart. She figured out, she's like, I don't know what this thing is, so I'm going to stand still and investigate. A little bit clumsy. I just kind of ignore when they do things like that. And I'm just standing there. I'm not even pushing her all too much right now. My presence and just kind of slightly moving around is enough.
I love this.
So the reason I do this first is so she can fight herself and learn to give to her own pressure. And I'm also curious as to what she thinks about things that drag. So she's kind of side-eyeing it a little bit, but she's not having a crazy reaction. So I know some horses, some Mustangs I've worked with have really never gotten over something dragging, like a rope or anything like that. So I always make sure I check that, because that's one thing that worries me a little bit, is to have one for a makeover that never gets over an object dragging like that. So I'm really happy with her reaction here. It's also cool to see how she reacts to it touching her hind legs and her front legs getting in between and all of that. And then of course I'm curious to see what happens when she steps on it, how she responds to that pressure.
Get it.
You could see initially she kind of just ran through it the first couple times when she stepped on it when she was out there by herself. But they start to figure it out real fast, as you'll see.
Yeah, no, I think, oh. Yeah.
So right there she was like, ooh, what was that pressure? Something was holding me back.
There, look at that. Picture
and
perfect.
Right there, she stepped on it, gave to it, and my body position helped a little bit there too. It was kind of a good moment to catch.
Look at her belly
where
moving.
she happened to step on it right at the same time. I actually ended up cutting this day into 2 videos because I wanted to make sure you guys would be able to see it all and not get too bored and not have the video be too long. Right there, I was just trying to get her to move forward, but instead we went into desensitizing because she decided that forward movement was not the answer.
Perfect.
Sweet, so this is our very first time giving to the rope with me on the other end. And I explain a little bit more in the next video where I go more in depth in my leading. But right here, you can see I'm asking her to come to the side, not forward. It's a lot easier to get a horse to kind of sway their body and get off balance if you ask them to move to the side. You'll see with her in this video and the next video that she's putting a lot of weight in that outside front leg. So then I have to resort to a few different methods to get her to give to that. I have to ask her to move forward and see if I can yield her hindquarters. I'm going to step in front of her a couple times and see if I can get her to move her shoulder. You can see she's really in that free state right now though. She's like, oh no, am I supposed to go forward to that? Good. As soon as she moves forward, I take off that tapping. And she's really smart. She learned how to give to that pressure to stop really quick. So it's good she knows how to stop from it, but now we have to figure out how to get forward from the pressure. There we go.
Very cute.
Super happy with this for our first short little leading session. I'll give you guys a little bit of a teaser too of what to expect in that video. And yeah, hopefully that one will be a little bit shorter than this one since they're both my day 1 videos. And then we'll get rocking and rolling with day 2. But let me know what you guys think about this mare. What are your first impressions of her? I really like her so far and I'm super excited to continue working with her. Make sure to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this or follow this mare on her journey.